Welcome to the Reveal the Legend Within Story Festival World-Class Speaker Interviews. And today it is an extraordinary privilege to bring my guest to you. I only recently met her, but when I did and I heard her story, I leapt on the opportunity to bring it to the festival. It has got one of the most powerful messages, and I'm not going to say another word. I'm going to go straight to introducing her. Please welcome Shradha. Hello, Shradha.
Hello, Mel.
So,
Melanie,
Shradha.
thank you. Melanie, thank you.
This is the joy of technology, this eagerness to speak and communicate and connect. Thank you so much, Shradha, today for your time. If you just could tell us, where are you speaking to us from?
Namaste from New Delhi, India.
Right. And so halfway around the world, we're connected today together. But so what I want to do is I want to give everybody a context for what they're about to hear. So please tell me about where you were born and the village that you were born in, what its name is and what it was like for you as a young lady growing up there.
Thank you, Mel, for the question. I was born in the rural parts of Bihar, not even close to a town, 50 kilometers away from the capital of Bihar, Patna. I was born in Ara. And I wasn't raised there. At the age of 4, my father sent me to a boarding school in the Himalayas. So I studied in Darjeeling, which is famous for tea.
It is, and it's very delicious tea. Two things. Was it unusual for you to be sent to university? Was it unusual as a woman to be sent to university? Boarding school?
Absolutely. I was the first, girl. My cousins were studying how to, they were learning actually how to write their names under the shade of a tree. And I felt very privileged, Mel, to be sent to a boarding because I could not only study more, learn more, but I could speak in English, I could read English, and I could express myself at that very young age. And my father saw to it that I went to a co-ed boarding school. So it was not only English, but it was also a co-educational boarding school. And it was breaking the traditions of my, ancestral family and the thought process of the existing family, because they did not care about education. And since my father could not study, and being a cloth merchant himself, he had decided to educate us and give us that life of confidence and self-expression.
It's an extraordinary gift, isn't it? And I know that you told me your village is a 90% illiterate village, the one that you were born into and grew up in, as it were. And so for your father to break that tradition and not just send his children but his daughter to a boarding school to get educated was an extraordinary gift. And that's the start you come from. But tell me, learning English, was it always a good thing, or did it come sometimes with some punishments?
Not at all. I think in English even today, and I'm grateful for that, because very young, I was already reading the Bible, going to the church every single morning, being there in the missionary school. And there we were taught equality, very young, Mel. So I treated English. In fact, when we used to come home after 9 months, my mother would find it very hard to understand what I would say, because it would take me a week or so to come back to my native language, Hindi. I can speak very fluently in Hindi as well, but English is a natural part of my upbringing.
And it has been a great support, your ability to communicate with us today, for example. It's taken you around the world, really, hasn't it?
I remember very early, my father, he used to be so proud that his daughter could read and write in English. He used to actually call for the newspaper from the town that was 50 kilometers away. And he would gather the doctors, the so-called educated people of our village, the doctor and the pharmacist. those who could write a prescription. They were the English speaking people there. And he would give me the newspaper and I would just read. And even though he couldn't understand, he cannot understand even today. But for me to read fluently without, stopping, without abruptly stammering, was an achievement for him. And it still is. Even today, he cannot understand or read or write English. But when I speak, he understands everything.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's an extraordinary story, but that doesn't stop there, does it? Because we're all faced with challenges in life, and in order to really hear your real story, we need to know what happened before it. So you were married. Can you tell us about this part of your life? You're a mother and a beautiful wife and a beautiful person, but that wasn't always an easy part of your life too.
We are raised in India believing that our marital homes will be the place where our coffin will leave from. And nothing was different about me. So 26 years ago, the first proposal that came my way, I said yes. And I was assaulted by my husband on my wedding night. And that resulted in a series of assaults that propelled me into domestic violence and severe beatings that landed me in the ER, barely able to walk. What began as hope in my heart for a lifetime of togetherness turned out to be a nightmare that stretched out for more than 2 decades. If only I had taken the time to know him, to learn about him and myself, I wouldn't have had to live like a dead soul in a moving body for so long. My father wanted me to study, to become a lawyer, because at that time he felt that I could present things very well, I could express very well, and I had this diction according to him. So he really wanted me to continue studies. But have you ever felt that pressure of confusion around you? And you just say yes to get away from all the chaos? That's what I felt. And my brother being there, waiting to get married, that is also one of the customs here, that the brothers, even though they are elder to us, they wait for the girl to go and then they bring in the girl in the house, the daughter-in-law in the house. And so I said, yes, Mel. And
let me just resonate with you. It was an expectation. We all have expectations around us. And so the fact that you said yes was normal. It's what you've learnt from it since that's extraordinary. And the way you articulate that part of your life just humbles me, because you have a way, your father is right, of articulating something that many of us haven't found the words for yet still, 20 years later or 30 years later. And when I heard that story, I noticed that I was looking at a woman who was not that story anymore. I was looking at a different woman. And the part of your story that is extraordinary is, first of all, you were dedicated to raising your children in that marriage. There's always the question, why did you stay for so long? And that's not a judgment, that's people trying to learn. You were raising 2 children at the time. And then what happened next? Who is the woman that's sitting in front of me today, talking to me today?
The first time that I was beaten, my father advised me to have children. He said that they will stand up for you now that you are there. Why don't you go ahead and start your family? Few years later, my father stood there and watched me get slapped by my husband. And though my ears were bleeding, he was wiping those drops and holding me accountable towards my children. My son was only 8 at that time. And so I went ahead with that decision. Most people, Mel, run away from their decisions. There is no acceptance. And today I have no regret because I left when my daughter was, and my son, both of them were above 20. So I do not have any regret today. And on the 20th of May 2015, when my mother-in-law got up to beat me, I was done. I could take no more. What took me so long, if you ask me? What finally gave me the courage to leave? It was, in short, my faith. I had relied upon my faith all along to help my husband, my family, but I had never had the courage to apply that faith on myself. And most people spend their entire lives doing for others. I'm not saying do not give or do not encourage or do not help others, but it's very important to wear the oxygen mask yourself. It's very important. I learned it the hard way. And the first thing that I did was dropped my name. I had enough of bringing disgrace to both the names that I belong to. My father-in-law or anyone around me, I do not want to go there and be specific, never fell short of accusing me, abusing me, ridiculing me, pinpointing that I was a bad omen to their family and to their name. And a name is very important, I feel, because I was never my father's name when I was in that home. My mother always had this discrimination between me and my two brothers. And I was, even though, and that's not something new out here in our culture, but even though in our culture, the way women are treated and it is acceptable, it was not acceptable at all to me. And so I was done and I said, okay, I will not have any name support me. And since I was going through all of this and witnessing my own breakthrough, and here the bank was asking me for some advice, some talk, something to refer to. So I added Witness the Breakthrough to my name and I started the Facebook account. And that was very lengthy, so I shortened it. Initials were WTB and I pressed enter. And Mark Zuckerberg actually christened my new name for social media. So that's where the journey began.
This is the piece that I heard when we first met. Shradha is your name, but you have a family name with your father and mother, and you had a family name with your husband. And you dropped all of those ownership names, the ownership of the family name and the ownership of your husband's family name, other people's ownership of your name, because names are so important. You took just your name, the one that belongs to you, Shradha, and said, this is who I am, to the whole world. And you started a Facebook page. What is on the Facebook? Tell me the story of that. Without the WTB, just what did you want to put on Facebook?
When I began this journey, I had no idea where I would be. It's been 5 years now. And at that time, every morning after meditation, I would post a quote. I would post some thought that was going on in me, just for those people who were working in the banks that were calling me to give them talks without any formal education of public speaking or training or coaching, anything like that. And Mel, I had no idea that those quotes will eventually, become my first book that is now forwarded by the greatest motivational speaker on the planet, Les Brown. So if you ask me what they were on Facebook, they were these normal quotes that I was writing with just four lines. And most of us have our inner voice telling us things, our gut telling us things, but we tend to suppress that inner voice. We tend to shun that intuition that is actually telling us what to do and how to do it. And this book of mine and my existing life, an example of listening to my inner voice by going within.
And that is literally, Facebook wouldn't accept you with just your name. It required you to have a surname, or what might be called a family name. And I love this story so much. How did you come up with WTB? Where did that come from?
I was listening to these videos on YouTube from Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown I found actually later, but yes, Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins. And breakthrough was one of the words that really resonated with me. I don't know at that moment how I came up with this. I was very eager to share myself. Every human's greatest need is to be heard, Mel. And I could feel the bank and those people working there hearing me. So my eagerness was to just be out there, to be heard. So I was very aggressively looking to enter. At that time, Facebook was asking me for a last name. And since I was witnessing my own breakthrough, I shortened it for WTB. And I just pressed enter and Facebook accepted me. I did not go back and see what WTB meant. Did it suit my name? Did it have a meaning? I didn't even wonder if anyone would ask me what WTB would mean later in life. I knew that I was out there by Shradha. Shradha is my name. Shradha, surprisingly, also means faith, Mel.
I remember you telling me Shradha literally means faith. And what you did was this is what I see and hear. You just took back your identity and your absolute faith in who you were and came and said, I am faith. That is my name. This is what drives me. And the WTB was a statement to the world. Witness the breakthrough of Shradha of faith. And it's such a beautiful story. And you've mentioned you have your book. Let's have a little look at it. Show it to us again. See? Witness the breakthrough. But you kind of just said, oh, and Les Brown has endorsed my book. He hasn't just endorsed your book. You are the first Indian.
Yes, to be endorsed by Mr. Brown, to be trained by Mr. Brown, to be mentored by Mr. Brown, and to be encouraged. Because when he met me, or I would say before he even met me, when I heard him on YouTube, he said something, I still remember the quote, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality, Mel. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And I said that, okay, if I am not the name that I lived for almost half my life, and if I am not the name that I lived for more than half my life, then definitely I am the person that grew up in the boarding school.
You're such an inspiration. Just claiming your name back from the world is the most powerful statement we can make, really. And of course, you're the first Indian, not just the first Indian woman, the first Indian. It's extraordinary achievement with this beautiful book. Now, what's really interesting now for me is the work that you do. Because, well, first of all, you actually have a process that is called faith and then an acronym. But before we ever find out about that, what work do you do? Because it's very, very related to your experience.
Yes, Mel. It so happened that when I met Mr. Brown, I went there to meet him for my own transformation. And I realized that soon engaging with him and auditioning, going live with less on stage. Out of 136 members, only 20 were selected, and India was one of them. So like that, the journey began, and I happened to certify myself as a trainer, speaker, and coach under Mr. Brown. And then now that I became a coach and got myself certified, I thought, I went in and I reflected and I said, if I am able to bring results, which I was working with MDs and CEOs and top Fortune 500 companies, I could bring the results. And then I said, why not bring it in the wedding industry? Because 92% of weddings in India yet are arranged marriages. And even those who marry after knowing each other are yet unable to stand the test of time. And with 1 out of every 3 marriage ending in divorce today, it's more important than ever for boys and girls, for couples to actually enter into matrimony prepared for the big day. Not only for the, that moment on the big day, but for their lives together to follow in the years after. And so I decided to enter the wedding industry with coaching as a wedding coach and coach brides and grooms who are confused about their fiance, who are actually having doubts, who are facing trust issues, commitment phobia, who are finding it really hard when fantasy is kicking in.
Well, right back at the beginning of this conversation, you said that there was confusion around that time for you, and it was expected. And so the first proposal that came along, you said yes, because you thought that was enough to fulfill the expectation. So what you're really doing is connecting back to that time and helping people so that they basically don't go through what you went through, or certainly to make them help a better life there, better decisions.
You can only change what you are aware of, Mel. I learned it the hard way. If you knew better, you can do better. If I had known better at that time, I would have not been in this position. But I am also grateful that I went through what I did, because today when these couples actually embrace me and thank me, I feel very responsible, and I feel even more sort of keen to go out there and help them, because it really fulfills me to see a happy couple. Eventually, it's all about love, Mel. And even though I am from India and from that village, I have people around the world reaching out to me just because they want to come closer. And I help them intensify their love by sharing the secrets of togetherness. So it's a very, very fulfilling feeling, because love is all that you need. Love is all that you need.
I love the thank you. I am grateful for what happened to me, because it makes me a better teacher. It makes me a better coach. It makes me better able to empathize and connect. That's really what I hear you saying about your life. There's no regrets. There's no pity. There's no shame. It's like, this is what brought me to who I am today and made me so powerful and able to help couples to make fulfilled lives. And that's extraordinary.
I was suicidal, Mel, till the time that I was surfacing thoughts of blame. Nothing in my life really changed, Mel. And when I released everyone on their own life journey, that's when my life changed. So most people will engage in their blame games, engage in attachment, engage in the past. Whereas the only way forward is to release everyone on their own life journey. Because, Mel, we come into this world alone, and we all know how we live. And like my mentor Les Brown says, that our life is a gift from God to us. And how we live our lives is our gift to God.
Oh, how beautiful. You, if there was one takeaway that you wanted us to learn from this conversation, what would it be?
To live a life of self-respect, you must remain in the process with faith.
That is so powerful. And I feel every bit of that is how you see and what you've learned from life and how you see it. That this is your fate. But it's the self-respect piece that you embody, and the piece that I take so much honour in knowing. Shradha, I thank you so much for agreeing to be a special guest at the festival and for this interview today. I can't wait for more people to come and meet you and hear your story for themselves and to learn more about you and what you can do for us all. And thank you for standing up and being an incredible woman in this world, a 21st century icon. I'm really privileged to know you. Thank you for this interview.
Thank you very much, Mel. And I know that Ben is there behind you. So you and Ben are not only doing incredible work, but even to reach out to an Indian. And we cannot forget the fact that we were under the Britishers for more than 2 centuries. And even knowing that you yet reach out to us and want to hear us, it's a beginning, it's an embarkment of a new journey for not only me, but for the entire country here. Because yes, we do have a story and we do have meaning to our lives. And you have actually reached out to us to give us that self-esteem and that self-respect. So I'm really, really grateful to you and Ben from the bottom of my heart for reaching out and giving me this platform to share my story with the world.
You have so much to teach us. And I thank you for your time today and in the festival, for being who you are out in the world and for being the woman that I am honoured to know. Thank you, and we'll see you at the festival.
Absolutely.